Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Bobby with Pain Rehab PT. Today, I was just going to make a video about how to support grievers and tips for people who are looking to support people who are grieving. I did make a previous video which is specifically focused more towards people who are grieving. And this video is focused on helping people who are grieving. For those of us who want to be supportive, we don't know what to do. Just from my own experience, I lost my brother. It'll be 5 years this year. So 5 years ago, in November of 2020. And so after that, I just offer condolences. I had many people who didn't reach out. And even for many people who did reach out, I never heard from them again after the fact. 99% of people that might reach out to you might not follow up. And again, it's normal. But for those who want to also learn how they can be supportive, that's why I'm just making this video, just to give some advice of what I learned from my own experience and what I find can be helpful. If you have somebody who loses a loved one and they're grieving, even just offering a supportive text or a word or just trying to talk to them, just connect with them is really important. It really can make a difference, even if you don't know what to say. Sometimes it's just a matter of offering your condolence, giving your condolences. At least they know you're thinking about them. What I remember the most from my experiences are the many people who never said a word to me. Like I've had family members, coworkers, people in my own church, people I've known for years, people who I thought I was close with, and they never said a word to me after my brother died. And that was very hard to take and accept and just to process, because it's people you think you have a closer relationship with, friends, even more of a family relationship, and you may never hear from them. And it's not any ill intent. They just really might not know what to say. And so they avoid saying anything. Many people, I heard from my wife, some people reached out to my wife when all this happened, and they would ask like, well, we don't know what to say to Bobby. And so what can we say? And she would give them advice about you could just offer a condolence. And I think for many people, they just still didn't feel comfortable with it, and they didn't know how to do that. And it's a problem in society. It's not just within our own circles of people we know. It's a very common thing in society. You hear about many people who don't know how to support grievers and what to say to people who are grieving. And so it's something that we as a society as a whole need to work on more. And I think more and more people are getting involved in this work. So hopefully we'll be better able to educate the population in general in supporting people who are grieving. Everyone matters. That's one other point I just wanted to bring up. So I lost my brother. And a lot of times when people spoke to me, if they offered a condolence to me, it was one thing. But other times people would follow with me and they would check in to see how my parents were doing or how my sister-in-law, my brother's wife, was doing. But many people, they also wouldn't ask me how I was doing, because you'll find out when it comes to siblings, and if you have a sibling loss, if that ever would happen to you, that siblings usually don't matter as much. Siblings are usually referred to as the forgotten mourners or the silent mourners, because people are more focused on the parents, or if there's a spouse, or if there's children, and learning how to support them. And so what I just wanted to make a point is that, again, everybody matters in grief. And we all have our own special relationships with our loved ones, and they're all important. Many people, when they're grieving acutely, they don't know what they need. Their mind is all over the place. I know for myself, that week was just so hectic and so busy because you're trying to help plan a wake and a funeral, and you need to do all these different things. And then you're hosting people who come and visit the house to visit your parents, and everybody's there. And I didn't know what we necessarily needed. So sometimes people just brought over food, or they offered to just give rides to places and kind of do all these different things that you wouldn't think of. But it really makes a difference. It really matters, because in the beginning, it's really hard to process whatever else you need to do. And so it really makes a difference if people just kind of come in and they just kind of offer day-to-day necessities, really. And because in the beginning, it's the hardest time. And hopefully as time goes on, things can get a little bit easier day by day. That's what the idea is. It's hard to, if you're trying to ask people what you need or let me know what you need, because most people usually do not. I learned this also in a grief support class that I took last year. And in that grief support group, I learned a lot of these different tips and tricks as well. And that was kind of the one thing that they recommended, was that you just kind of offer different things that you find would probably be helpful. But it's more of kind of daily necessities is what people need. One other piece of advice, again, along with the list here, is like, don't make promises you can't keep. Sometimes we might offer these ideas of, oh, I'll be there and I'll follow up with you and I'm always going to be around and I'll check in with you. But like I was saying before, many people who contacted me at the beginning to offer condolence, and they were just, let me know if there's anything you need. I'm here for you and all that. And then I never heard from these people again. And that can be really tough for someone to hear, because they are looking for support and they're very vulnerable at that time. And in your acute grief, if someone just showing any level of support, especially with a traumatic loss, at a young age too, my brother's loss is different because it was traumatic. It was sudden, unexpected. He was 38. And so traumatic losses and sudden losses can be more traumatic. Again, losing a loved one in illness or prolonged sickness, something like that, is also different too. So it's not to take away from it. It's just the type of grief can just be different. And so for people to kind of reach out and say they want to be supportive and helping them and not be there for me. And now, like I said, now it's been 5 years this year. Many of those people have not been there. So I would just say, don't make promises you can't keep. If you can't be there for somebody, and that's okay, really, because not everybody can be at all. Even people's own close inner circles might not be able to be there for them because they don't know really how to be there. And people have their own lives too. So it's not personal. So that's what I would just recommend, just to make it easier on the griever. What I would say is don't check in on people and then not follow up. Sometimes that could be hurtful for people too, where you might check up with them in the beginning and then months go by or a year or two goes by where you're not following up and checking in. And then people might wonder why you haven't been there this whole time, even just checking in or following up. I know that happened for me with a number of people too. It's normal, really. Your closest circles for a griever, their closest circles are most likely going to be the ones who are going to be there for them. But again, like I mentioned in the other video I gave for the tips for grievers, unfortunately, people won't always be there either. And you find out in grief, when you learn about grief, and if you go through grief, that these are normal experiences that people go through. So I would just say that kind of the same thing as well, is if you are following up or if you are just giving that condolence in the beginning, I think that's still meaningful. But to still follow up and then not follow through can still be hurtful for somebody. So I would just recommend maybe just not holding off on doing things like that if you're not able to. Just for some people, again, just different ways to support people. Sometimes people just offer prayers. I'm a Christian, so you hear many of those things of people offering prayers and we'll pray for you. And prayers are great, but people also just need more support too beyond prayers. So it's the same idea like I was mentioning before. There's ways that you can be supportive to somebody, and checking in on them, visiting them, being able to purchase things they might need that they're just not able to do for themselves right now. That all really matters too. It's about kind of works and service and being there for somebody. Like your prayers can feel empty at a time because it's probably sometimes the easy thing to do. So just kind of active service can really make a big difference for somebody as well. For the first year, and maybe for some years after, so they call it the year of the first. So for anybody who's grieving, the year of the first are first birthdays, first holidays, first anniversaries, things like that. All those days can be really difficult because they are overall all meant to be happy days. And so if they're not happy days, now you're thinking about how your loved one is not there. So for people who are grieving, especially, sometimes birthdays aren't going to be a happy day for the time being, unless they learn to process their grief more and learning how they can also celebrate their loved one on those days. A better way maybe of just following up on those days is just checking in with somebody, letting them know that like, hey, I know it's your birthday today. I know your loved one isn't here. And I just know we're thinking about you, and offering just your thoughts and prayers and things like that. I think that's still okay because you're still thinking about them. And it depends on the person. Some people, they can learn to move forward really quickly with grief, just on the way they view grief. But for many people, I think they're going to be grieving for some time, especially in that first year where it's really difficult. And so an easier way would be, again, just to let you're thinking about somebody and just checking in on them and letting you're there for them if they need some support, depending, again, how close your relationship is too. Yeah. And so those are some of the main tips I just wanted to give. Again, it's not an all-inclusive list, but I just wanted to be there to be supportive, to help people who want to be supportive of grievers and they don't know how to help somebody who's grieving. These are just some tips that I found that would have been helpful for me as well, and what I've learned and I've tried to share with other people too. So I just hope, again, that this is helpful for you. Part of the work that I do also is helping people with grief, but also the mind-body symptoms that can come with grief as well. And so if that's something that you might be dealing with, I linked a free guide in the description below to help people deal with mind-body symptoms. It contains 5 different tips that I found to be very helpful, that I've used in my own practice and I've used myself personally. I found to be very effective in helping to heal mind-body illnesses and symptoms of disease. And so you can find the link in the description below. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you find this helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.